just going to say this outright, all right? I liked the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, both 1 and 2. 1 is like a 50-50 with people, you know, like some people think it's really good, some people think it's okay, some people think that it's absolute crap and that it's blasphemy and that it's an insult to the original. I think it's almost as good as the original in a fucking completely different way, and that's part of the reason why I respect it so much. Now, the second Rob Zombie's Halloween that came out in 2009, most people across the board fucking hated that one, and I've honest to godly never understood that. So, and I mean, not that they weren't flawed. Virtually any movie except for like fucking Blade Runner 2049 has flaws. In the first Halloween, particularly in the beginning, I want to say like the beginning, like 20 minutes to a half hour, it's a little rough. And I mean, the whole movie's a little rough in terms of like being really edgy and violent and stuff like that. But it was really, I can't put my finger on whether or not it was like the dialogue or if it was just like the delivery or if it was the direction. Like, for example, the bully kid at the beginning of the movie is picking on Michael Myers in the bathroom, and, you know, he's, like, talking about his sister. Hey, I heard she got caught selling blowjobs in the bathroom. I heard they had to pump the cum out of her stomach. Like, you know, like that, and the delivery that... And, you know, I had listened to the commentary on the movie, and I guess that some people had said to Rob Zombie, like, dude, that's a little excessive, don't you think? Like, you know, and I mean, it is. But his response to that is, well, I knew kids that talked like that in school, and I mean, I kind of also get that. And it's true. I mean, kids, like, in middle school and high school, they say some pretty fucking depraved shit. But it wasn't so much the vulgarity of the line. It wasn't so much, like, it was the delivery. It was like very staged, like ultra kind of like, hey pal. I'm guessing it was Rob Zombie's directing, like to be like all overly like sinister with that. And then like almost immediately following, the principal breaks in and, you know, he's like, you know, break it up, you over there, you over there. And Michael Myers just goes, fuck you. And I'm like, and that's another thing. That is another problem that I had. The beginning half hour to 20 minutes to a half hour of the original Rob Zombie's Halloween was awkward as shit. There was some subpar acting, but you know what? There are a lot of classic horror movies that have some subpar acting, all right? Perfect example, honest to godly, is Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead. Before they get to the shopping mall, when everything is chaos at the beginning of the movie and they're at the fucking television station and stuff, there was that one goofy bastard that they were talking to who's like, we were thinking we could get to the island. What island? Well, any island, you know, and it's just sort of like, what the like, was that like a relative of George A. Romero? What the hell is this guy doing in the movie? At any rate, starts off really awkward. Also, side note, Hannah Hall, the girl who played Michael Myers' older sister in that movie, I met her at Monster Mania back in 2013, and I'm here to tell you right now, she's just like the sweetest fucking girl on the face of the planet. She plays like a total tramp, like white trash, just disgusting human being in Rob Zombie's Halloween, but in real life, she is such a sweet individual, which is a sign of a very good actress. But at any rate, you know, when I met her, I said, so why don't you like eggs again? And she just goes like, oh, that line, you know, so if it's any indication. So we got a rough start. We got a dumpy kid playing Michael Myers, and instead of playing the, like, there's something dark going on up in here thing, it's like it was a lot more vocal, and I don't think that Rob Zombie successfully got across what he was trying to get across. You know, like, instead of him saying, fuck you, to the principal, it should have just been, like, you know, maybe he just, like, looked at the kid and, like, just lunged at him and, like, tried to, like, you know, strangle him or something like that. And the principal, like, literally had to, like, deck him to get him off the kid or something like that. Like, that would have been more like, oh, fuck, this kid's, like, fucked up. You know, and I mean, it's got the whole Devil's Rejects kind of, like, redneck family, you know, rough childhood upbringing thing. And all that's a little bit awkward to get through. But, honest to godly, again, it is only the first 20 minutes to a half hour of a movie, and it really does kind of like set the stage for things that are to come. Like, you're already in some weird way made uncomfortable and kind of invested a little bit. I guess it's sort of the same way with The Devil's Rejects. You know, there's a lot of shit in that movie that's just really uncomfortable, but like after a certain point, you're just like following these characters around and you kind of want to know like what happens. Where does their journey end? You know, it can't be good, but... And from then on out, like when he actually does go apeshit bit, and like, you know, I mean, shit happened. That was all very, very brutal, done in total Rob Zombie style, not really very reminiscent of the original. And it worked. It worked. It got you, like, really good. It's like, ooh, that's fucking brutal. There's other things, too, like, you know, he gets to the psychiatrist, or not psychiatrist, he gets to the, like, basically loony bin, and, you know, it's 15 years later, and all of a sudden he grows up into Tyler Mane, who I also met, cool guy, who's like fucking 7 feet plus, and it's just like, okay, how did that dumpy little bastard grow into that goddamn giant, you know? But this has been disbelief. Rob Zombie wanted to make it kind of big. He wanted to make the movie kind of bigger, you know, which I can understand, because where Rob Zombie's film, his vision was very like, you know, in yo face. Like John Carpenter's vision was a lot more subtle. And if you're going to remake a movie, why would you just want to do the same thing? But the thing that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed this about both the first and the second Rob Zombie's Halloween movie, is where John Carpenter's movie sort of just barely touched on the supernatural, you know? It's sort of like it had you wondering the whole time, and even the whole idea of, like, what is the boogeyman? And even, like, the way Dr. Loomis describes Michael Myers in the original, he's like, the darkest eyes, the devil's eyes, you know? There's something, like, kind of supernatural, like otherworldly, like, this is what evil is. This is evil amongst humanity. And while there is a similar theme in Rob Zombie's, it's more like when you hear Malcolm McDowell. By the way, I liked Malcolm McDowell, actually. I don't know if it was his performance or just the way he was written, but I did like Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Loomis better than Donald Pleasance. I identified with him more. He was more of a flawed human being. And he actually had like a connection with Michael Myers. You know, it was kind of weird. You know, it was like he was his keeper, kind of, in a way. But that line is modified in the Rob Zombies movies to say, these are the eyes of a psychopath. And it's and that's really what this series is. There's nothing supernatural about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, Michael Myers does get still kind of like unrealistically fucked up in both the movies and is somehow still standing, but he's not supposed to be like a superhuman. He's supposed to be a big-ass dude who can take a beating, and it's supposed to be about, like, the mentality. And that's where the second one comes in. The whole John Carpenter-ish, like, aspect that was the second half of the first movie was sort of almost, like, enhanced in a way by all the really uncomfortable shit that happened before. And, I mean, I found myself by the end, like, when Laurie Strode is babysitting those kids and Tyler Mane fucking smashes through the door, I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, run, run, you know? Like, I was really, really invested by that point. And like, by that point, I think it was that exact scene where I was like, you know, I actually like this movie. Like, this is actually an effective horror film. I like this. Anyways, moving on to the not popular opinion that is the second movie. They really, really, really went, like, the psychological route with the second one, and I thought that it was sheer brilliance. Unfortunately, they made Malcolm McDowell kind of a dick. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because, you know, he sort of makes up for it and whatnot, but, like, even Sheriff Brackett, in the second movie, the John Carpenter one, he's a very brief, like, kind of scene in that movie, an afterthought when he finds out that his daughter's been killed, and he's just like, you know, Dr. Loomis, like, you son of a bitch, this is your fault, like, kind of a thing, and that's it, and he's gone, he's out of the movie. Like, Sheriff Brackett in the second one, like, and Brad Dourif, who is a phenomenal actor in anything and everything that he's ever done, just, like, got me right here. And the fact that shit goes down the way it does and he's still able to function, he's still able to, like, you know, just gather himself and be like, fight now, cry later, as George Clooney from Dusk Till Dawn would say. You know, like, there's other shit going on, there are bigger things going on, like, I have to stop this kind of a thing. I really, really, really loved his character so much more in the Rob Zombie version. And the thing that's great about it is Michael Myers it's not like he's out to just simply kill his sister. He is out to bring her home. He is out to bring her into the fucked up Myers family. You know, in this movie, she finally fucking realizes who she is, and she's a little mental. And that's another thing too, is that she's got scars, and her best friend Annie has scars. They're fucked up from what happened in the first movie, and that's something that's kind of like brushed aside in a lot of horror movies. You know, it's like you never really get to see the aftermath. You never get to see how these characters are affected by the shit that's happened to them. Rob Zombie goes a little far, like with Lords of Salem, for example, a little bit far with like the trippy imagery and stuff like that, but like the whole white horse aspect of this film, and particularly the final frame, the final scene in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I'm not saying shit, but it's just like, okay, I will give a sort of spoiler. It doesn't tell you anything specific, really. You can interpret it how you will. If it's going to bother you, I give you license to shut off the video. 3, 2, 1. By the end of Halloween 2, you're like, he's got her. And that's it. That's the semi-spoiler. But it's just like the psychological aspect. It's like the same movie, it's the same story, but it's approached from a completely different like theme. And don't get me wrong, like I do probably enjoy the original Halloween better, the original 2 even. But Rob Zombie's movies, I mean, they have their flaws, but there are other ways where they are arguably superior to the original Halloween series. And, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, I would advise checking them out, but just letting you know, it's rough. It's Rob Zombie. There's some blood, there's some guts, there's some torture, there's some rape. If you watch the unrated version, there's some fucked up shit in those movies, but they're good. Damn, they're good. And it's too bad, because I remember that back in like 07, particularly 07, like a lot of people really liked the first Rob Zombie movie. And I find that today more and more people are sort of like, it's crap, like the novelty wore off or something. But to me, it was never a novelty. I liked both those movies. I thought it was bravo, Mr. Zombie. Bravo.